Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Posi-TIPS with Rachelle, continuing this important series on lessons in adversity. Because folks, despite this coronavirus pandemic, let us all recognize how blessed we are. Let's look for the positives in our lives and let's make a decision that we're going to keep on keeping on. We're going to make it through this. We're going to emerge better, stronger, better human beings. We have to make a decision to allow these experiences to make us better and not bitter. All right, because the decisions that we make now can really shape our future. And so we always want to try to do our best to remain positive and look for the good things. Recognize, hey, I have a lot to be thankful for despite this challenging situations. It's this challenging time that we're all in. And we are truly all in this together, and I hope that you, your friends, families, loved ones, everyone is doing well, you're safe, healthy, happy. And folks, as I thought about this particular episode, I said, you know what? If there is one thing, I want to talk a little bit about happiness. This happiness comes up a lot. This is actually one of the fundamental pillars of my Posi-TIPS episodes, because if there's one thing that I've heard over and over and over in my life, it's, Rachelle, you have to be the most happy and positive person I've ever met. And so, and I talked a little bit about this earlier, a number of weeks ago, on a Fitness Friday episode. I'm going to talk a little bit about it here on a regular Posi-TIPS episode. And when you talk about this concept of happiness and just how it's true, I tend to gravitate towards the positive in any situation, including adverse situations. That is just how I'm wired. I'm hardwired for happiness is actually how I describe it. Hardwired for happiness. And when I think about that hardwiring and where that happiness and kind of joy stems from in my life. And the reason why I'm mentioning this, because we know that this coronavirus situation, a lot of lives are on pause, they're on hold. And this is a wonderful time, as you've heard me to say in the last couple of weeks, to evaluate your life, to reflect on your life, to reflect on what's working, what isn't working, yada, 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 strengths, weaknesses, areas of growth and development for yourselves. And when I think back to this root of my happiness comes to two individuals, Oscar and Willette Smith, who currently reside in Shreveport, Louisiana. Those are my parents. And what I want to do on this episode is where everyone is really taking stock and inventory. Not everyone, many people are. And recognizing where your priorities lie, what's important, what's not important, what you thought was important, is you recognizing is not as important as you thought it was. But this whole concept of family. One of the positive benefits of this coronavirus pandemic is families are now spending more time together, eating dinners together, eating meals at home. Just overall family time has really increased for a lot of people. And so this whole notion of just parents, because when I reflect upon my childhood, undeniably, you talk about Rachelle is hardwired for happiness, that's where it started. That is where I started. If there's when I think about my own coronavirus, I have a separate Rachelle's coronavirus challenge. And so my challenge for me is, how am I going to use experience to make me a better person? As always, adversity shapes us, develops our character like nothing else. And for me, when I go to bed and I sleep well at night and I just have a good, clear conscience and walking in my purpose and all of that is very, very important. Making a difference, yes, super, super important to me. But I am so grateful for good old Oscar and Willette and the childhood and the adulthood and the parenting that I have received from them. And why is that? When you go back, you look at them and you talk about a sense of purpose and yeah, purpose is true. I'm walking in my purpose professionally and making a difference and all in this and that. But the purpose around parenting and how my parents made us, my brother Oscar the third, my sister, my older sister Yolanda, how they made us an absolute undeniable priority. Folks, I'm talking no excuses. I'm talking, I was in multiple sports growing up, track, swim team, softball, did different things, spelling bees, just all the talent shows. Folks, there's one thing I can say, and one thing that is just hardwired me for happiness. That is, my parents were such a consistent force in my life. I mean, we're talking about, with all my activities, different things, and then, in college, now, just that support, that consistency, that is no excuses, just always being there, always being there. And so, yes, and I've had friends tell me, Rachelle, over the years, Rachelle, you were so lucky to have the parents that you have. And I remember even, back in the day, my mom said when we were real little, other women would tell her, you are so lucky. You got yourself a good husband who loves his kids, who takes you, and it's true. My dad taking us to doctor's appointments, taking off work to take us to the dentist, absolute parenting, shared responsibility with him and my mom. And I just think back to how powerful those early experiences were in shaping me. And so now, folks, and this is not an episode, perhaps if you're a parent and you've been guilty, you've been overworked, you recognize that, your family hasn't been the priority, your kids haven't been the priority, perhaps that they need to be. This is a time to reset. This is a wonderful time to reset. And you may say, well, Rachelle, my kid is 25. Is it too late? No, it's never too late. It is never too late, folks. But so as we think about what's going on in our lives, what's working, what's not working, I can tell you the undeniable source of my happiness, positivity, and joy was those early life experiences. Knowing my parents loved me and loved me then, always being there, letting me know I was a priority, letting me know that I was important, letting me know that I mattered. And that's not, this, folks, when individuals struggle with these type of issues, feeling like they're not important or they were rejected or abandoned, or my parent or parents were never there for me. They left me, they moved across the state and I never ever saw them again, or they never called me. There's myriad different scenarios how this plays out. And folks, it is so important. Many of the particularly pathologies that people struggle with, whether it's, prostitution or drug abuse, drug addiction, things like that, when you see these shows and you listen to these experts, and you will often see what is the root of that? Childhood traumas, rejection, abandonment, abuse, all of that. And so, but now is a time to say, you know what? Perhaps I've been working 14, 15 hours a day, not making my family a priority. Now is the day. Now is the time to reset. This is not a time I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I'm not here to make you feel bad. But I'm just telling you, I'm serving as a positive example of one whose parents made me a priority, loved me, were there for me, still there for me. Even though they're in a different state, they're still there, very consistent presence in my life. People will say, oh my gosh, Rachelle, you're such a great daughter. You go down to Louisiana and help your parents to do this and that. Absolutely. People see that and they may not understand. Like I'm telling you now, I'm giving you some background information. Yes, I'm there for them and I will do anything for them and will drop anything and get to Louisiana. But that's because they did the same for me. They've done, that's just how we operate. That's how we focus in my family. And so if you want your kids to be there for you, be there for them. There's just no other way to describe that, folks. So I just want to challenge you today. Please, families, and many people are recognizing now this pandemic is causing people to reevaluate. Man, my family, those are my rocks in life. They're there for me. We got to make sure we're there for each other. And I haven't really recognized the value of my family and how we're there for, and how we need to be there for one another. But just know, and I'm going to close with this, just know, for one reason or another, whether it's work, whether it's any other myriad different things that a person, an individual, a parent may choose over his or her children, and think that there's, in most cases, not going to be strong psychological damage as a result of that. The experts say that kind of stuff over and over again. neglect, rejection, abandonment. Well, I never saw my parent. He moved out of state. She moved out of state. They got remarried and I never saw them again, or they stopped calling me. And folks, that is devastating to people. That is devastating to people. Because now I'm in a situation where now I'm perhaps even in a coaching role. I'm dealing with an individual that has just struggled with confidence, struggles with feeling important, struggles with feeling like they matter. But then when you really get to the heart of the matter, it's, well, my parents were never there for me. They never made me feel like I was important. They ran off and left me and I never saw them. I rarely saw them. I don't feel like I matter even though I'm 41 or 60 in some cases. My client's age, varies. And so, but I'm just telling you, those wounds, those wounds are strong, those wounds remain. And so I often say, what can I do in terms of, sharing my light with the world? Yes, I do that. Hope, health, happiness, fitness, all of that. Leadership. But I just want to take this episode and say, parents, please, many of you are already there for your children. You're there, you're consistent, you love them, you treat them right, you let them know they're important. Because then down the road, if they're deficient in these areas, then the scam artist or the relational manipulator won't tell them these things with ulterior nefarious motives. And then that person has reaped the whirlwind of trouble in those situations, folks. So validate your children. Be there for them. Don't just buy them things, give them money. No, the power, there's actually a presentation, a speech that I had, the power of presence. Being there, physically, as much as humanly possible. Yeah, you may be deployed, or the person may be deployed overseas, and that's kind of out of his or her control, serving in the military. But apart from that, those mandatory kind of situations where there's separation, folks, be there physically for your kids. There's nothing that says you matter, I love you, you're important, you are a priority, like being there physically, affirming them, telling them they can do anything. That's what my parents did to me. You were special, you were smart, you can do anything, you can conquer the world. I heard those messages growing up. I still hear those messages now. But it started with my parents, who were driven by a very strong sense of purpose and their role as parents. And so, folks, that's all I have for you today. This is another very important lesson of adversity, during the season of adversity, the power of family and the power of parenting. So I cannot wait until next week's edition. So until then, stay tuned and remember, I am positively passionate about your happiness and success. Make it a great day.